Hey, I'm Elias. Thanks for watching. Today's episode, I'm going to be talking to you about one of the gnarliest things I've ever heard from another entrepreneur, but it radically shifted and changed my entire life. So I wanted to share this with you because I think it'll be a wonderful way to make sure that you're staying in the sweet spot of managing being an entrepreneur and managing your life. Just in terms, and I believe, listen, everybody's an entrepreneur. If you're a stay-at-home mom, trust me, you run a bed and breakfast, man. Like you have an entire job taking care of your family, taking care of that household. Literally, you're running a bed and breakfast. So this goes for anybody and everybody, whether you work for a company, whether you run your own company, whether you're a stay-at-home mom. Listen, we're all entrepreneurs in terms of the way that we're wired. So check this out. I was once counseling and helping strategize with a client. And when I was talking to this person said, and this statement right here changed everything for me. They said, I don't believe that my spouse is treating me like their number one client. It's just like, boom. Wait a minute. That right there, stop the brakes for a second. Basically, what this person was saying was they're not the number one priority. Basically, their spouse was in love with their company and with everything that they were doing. And so that really derailed my thinking in a great way. It was such a disruptive topic. I'm like, hey man, I really got to unpack this because this can be awesome in terms of helping people win at life. What that helped me do is realize that we all as leaders, as entrepreneurs, as parents, as business owners, we have to treat our spouse as our number one client. That's big. Why is that? I believe this. I believe that our life, our children, being parents, our spouse, those relationships, and the relationships that are around us in terms of our immediate core friends, those are the pillars to life. Everything else lands on top of that. Among those pillars is my relationship with God. So my relationship with God, relationship with my wife, relationship with my kids, relationships with the people that are around me. That is the pillars of what holds everything else in life. That sits on top of those pillars. So if those are fractured, or if those are out of whack, how do you think everything's going to run? So if you're walking out the door to go crush it and land another deal and scale business and, hey man, I just got to make this happen. I did that, you guys, to a fault where I literally made the company the number one priority because I did it. I didn't even realize it. I was doing it in the idea of being a great provider. And that is a blind spot for entrepreneurs. Any creative that is looking to maximize and scale their business and build it to a really amazing level of impact can do that at the cost of their family. But they think that they're doing it for a good reason. Hey, I'm building my business because I want to be a great provider and my family will love me and we'll be able to go on vacations and do great memories. You know what? Not if it's at the cost that you're not going to be around, or even when you're around, you're a ghost, or even when you're around, you're cranky, or even when you're around, your mind is actually out at work. I get that, man. I've been there. So I want to encourage you, friend, today, make your spouse your number one client. For me personally, my days start out with making sure that my relationship with God is number one. Because if I don't have my relationship with God and He and I are in love, and that relationship and that dependency and that trust and that obeying, that rhythm isn't in there, how am I going to be for my wife? If that's not in place and things aren't going with my wife, how are things going to be for my kids? Because my kids are looking at how things are going with my wife. So if that's not in order, how are things going to be in my relationships? And if those things aren't in order, just the basics in life, baseline, relationship with God, relationship with wife, relationship with friends and your children, if that house isn't in order, what business do we have going out to the rest of the world trying to change the world if our house is not in order? One of the greatest disruptive messages for me came when somebody said, hey, if I was to come in and sit down with your family at a dining room table, what sort of report card would you get? And I'm like, dude, that's gnarly. That's convicting in a great way. It's going to compel me into making some changes in life. Would I get an A-? Would I get a D? Would I get a F? So Chantel and I realized back early on in our marriage, for over 17 years, we've had consistent date nights investing into one another each week, trading, whether it be trading babysitting, whether it be paying for babies, whatever it took to make sure that we carved that time away. Why? Because the kids have grown up our entire life watching us do that. More importantly, I have no business outgoing changing the world if she hasn't felt her needs being met and her being invested in as the number one client. One of the ways you can kind of tell if you're a guy that's watching is when your wife is actually kicking you out in a fun way. Like, hey, go have fun. Go golf. Go hang out with friends. Go do whatever you guys want to do. Like, go have fun. My needs have been met. I'm stoked. What you're doing, you're rocking it here. Thanks so much for what you're doing for the family. So I want to encourage you in that today. And lastly, I'll close with this. For those that are like kind of feeling kind of wacky, maybe your relationship with your spouse isn't that good and you don't want to make them the number one client. Maybe they don't deserve it. Maybe things are tough right now. You're trying to make ends meet and it's just not being reciprocated and time isn't being allocated. Well, let me encourage you with this. Depending on where you stand with God, I mean, you know that's dear to my heart. But this is biblical wisdom here. Listen to this verse. Jesus said in Matthew 6:33, "Seek ye first my kingdom and my righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you." I took the Lord up on that offer. And what that offer means is this. Lord, I'm going to pursue you first. My flesh and my temptation is I want to go build these companies. I want to go become as successful as possible to be a great provider and get security. But that's putting my faith and my trust in that. And that basically kicks God out of the throne, puts me in the throne, and makes me feel like I'm in control. But if I seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, if you and I, friend, we do that, we put him as our first love, here's what happens. He says, seek me first, and I will add all these other things to you. And when I did that, here's what happened. I put my faith and my trust in him, that he was going to take care of my marriage, that he was going to take care of my wife and my kids and my friends and my business and what customers bought what and how many things were going to happen. Now I have a responsibility there. I'm like a farmer. I got to take care of my land. I got to show up on the daily. I got to grab the shovel. I got to tend the soil. I need to plant things. I need to water things. But the increase, what grows, that's all him. So if I can be investing in him and trusting in him, and he'll take care of all the rest, here's what that looks like. Noah, make your wife your number one priority on earth. So first priority is my relationship with God. Second priority is, but on earth, number one priority is Chantel. If her heart has been pursued, God's going to take care of the results. But my job is to show up and to invest and to do my part. Regardless of whether she feels like it, whether she's having a good day or a bad day, or the kids or whatever, same thing. I have a job to do that. Why? Here's the secret that most will never tell you. Because that is God's number one priority. My number one priority is her and them and then everybody else after that. So I want to encourage you, my friend. Get those priorities straight. Because here's what that equals. Peace of mind. Why? Because your expectations then become aligned and realistic. If they're out of whack and you're trying to serve the world first and trying to gain and climb the ladder of success, you're just going to keep climbing the ladder, getting to the top, realizing that it's at the wrong building every single time. Drop the ladder. Seek ye first his kingdom and righteousness. Everything else will be added unto you. Make his priorities your priorities. When that happens, life gets aligned. And what happens there? Fruit can then happen, results can happen in ways that you could never even imagine. And here's the beautiful part about it. You can't produce the results anyways, so do what you're supposed to do. Let him do the producing of the results, and they're far better than anything you could ever have collaborated or put together and orchestrated. That's what I've found in over 30 years of following him. But make your spouse your number one client. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. Have an amazing day. Leave me a comment down below.